thank you everyone for watching today's video. Today I will be talking about the history and value of generics and biosimilars, the barriers to full adoption and utilization of these options, as well as potential solutions that will ultimately, hopefully, lower the cost of prescription medications. My name is Caleb Shekel, and I am a third-year hematology oncology fellow at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Next year, I will be going into private practice hematology. And as a cancer doctor, the high cost of cancer drugs is something that is near and dear to my heart. So the topic of the manuscript that I'll be talking about is generics and biosimilars, barriers and opportunities. And what we look at over the course of this manuscript is first laying out a little bit of a history as to how generics and biosimilars have come to play a role in the pharmaceutical industry, and particularly how they play a role in lowering the prices of various different drugs. We talk about some of the legislative action that has yielded these, and also how the US patent system works, and why it's important that drug manufacturers have a period of exclusivity to recoup the costs of their research and development, as well as to reward future development, but also the role that generics and biosimilars play then down the road in terms of helping to lower the cost of those medications and making them more accessible to patients. One of the things that we look at over the course of this paper is looking at some of the things that come up that may be barriers for biosimilars and generics being fully adopted. The two key stakeholders that we highlight in the manuscript are payers, which would be insurance companies, as well as the drug manufacturers themselves. A few things we look at from the payer perspective is a concept called tier switching, where insurance companies may use the placement of drugs in different tiers to impact the cost sharing between the between the insurer and the patient, and how sometimes insurers may place generic medications on higher tiers, which causes patients to pay more out of pocket and may ultimately affect prescription abandonment at the time of getting that filled. We also look at a concept that's called generic substitution, which is as new generics become available, how quickly are they adopted on a plan's formulary? And specifically highlighting that sometimes there can be a several-year delay from the time that a new generic becomes available to the time that an insurance company is actually putting it on its formulary. And we talk about the reasons why some insurance companies may choose a delay putting on a generic or biosimilar. And some of that can come down to basically the way that prescription drugs are paid for within the Medicare framework, as well as how drug rebates from drug manufacturers may incentivize an insurance company not to adopt a generic or biosimilar. In the second part of the paper, we spend some time looking at how drug manufacturers can influence having generic or biosimilars come to market, specifically looking at the 180-day exclusivity period for first generic manufacturers, and some of the particular tactics that various manufacturers use to delay a new generic or biosimilar from being introduced. We also look at the concept of evergreening, product hopping, as well as patent thickets. And we go into details about what these include, as well as why these various tactics can be harmful for bringing in specifically biosimilars to market, and also potential solutions for the future as we try to bring in more competition for prescription drugs and ultimately yield lower prices for patients. I think that the importance of this article overall is really just highlighting that the process that yields the ultimate price that our patients pay is sometimes obfuscated to prescribers. We're not familiar with what our patients are only paying and what goes on behind the scenes that influences what patients are paying. I think one of the concepts that many physicians are becoming more sensitive to is the concept of financial toxicity. I know myself as a cancer doctor worry that much of the care that I prescribe could ultimately have downstream negative consequences for patients. It does a patient no good if I can cure their cancer, but then make them bankrupt at the same time. So I think understanding how these medications, uh, how generics become available, how biosimilars become available, and some of those barriers also gives physicians the opportunity to engage with their legislators to try to hopefully improve uh, drug legislation and improve the process and the pipeline for increasing market competition for these medications. I think next steps in research is just continuing to look at what are ways that physicians can particularly engage with their legislators, and also look at some of the price dynamics for same in class medications and why we don't see some of the improvements in pricing as we would expect. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy reading this article. I encourage you to check it out in the December edition of the Mayo Clinic Proceedings. Thank you so much.
We hope you found this presentation from the content of our website valuable. Our journal's mission is to promote the best interests of patients by advancing the knowledge and professionalism of the physician community. If you are interested in more information about us, our homepage is www.mayoclinicproceedings.org. There you'll find access to information for our social media content, such as additional videos on our YouTube channel or journal updates on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter. More information about healthcare at Mayo Clinic is available at www.mayoclinic.org. This video content is copyrighted by Mayo Foundation for Medical Education and Research.